Welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Toohey.
We got Cara Mack in the back, and this is Talking Points. Let's get to it, motherfuckers.
Talking time.
Alright, Noel, so we're back with another episode of Talking Points. This new segment cooked up by the man in the back, Cara Mack. And we want to talk about is something that's been very prevalent in the news over the past few weeks, and that's since the incident on the set of Rust involving Alec Baldwin and a cinematographer, and he pretty much discharged. He says he didn't pull the trigger, but a weapon was discharged on the set of Rust, and it ended up in the serious injury of one person and the fatality of another person as well. And what we came here to talk about really was, is there an issue with guns being on set? Because this is not the first time it's occurred. There's a legendary case of it, including Brandon Lee back in the 90s on the set of The Crow, where a live round or something ended up in the barrel of a gun and he ended up getting killed. And now we have it kind of like resurfacing again with this latest kind of incident, or this latest fatality on set. It's like The Rock has come out, Dwayne Johnson, always be The Rock to me, but he came out and he was like, you're like, yeah, I know him.
You mean or Dizzle? Yeah.
Or Dizzle. Or Jizzle. But he said, he came out lately and stated that, and on the Seven Books production, like his production company, and any of his sets moving forward, that there will be no real guns, no prop guns used, that there'll all be rubber guns, and the fire, the gun blast or whatever will be added in afterwards. And I figured, the rubber guns was a good idea because it matches the acting on The Rock's movies.
That's it. The thing is, I suppose, after seeing like something like Endgame, let's just say, like, which is because superhero movies are always a good gauge of how far we've come in special effects and things like that. But I thought, yeah, maybe there is no need for it. And even though it's hardly an epidemic, because like in Western cinema, there's Halyna Hutchins or something, I think was the lady's name. And we had Brandon Lee, and that's 27 years. But it's still too many. But when you just think about, I know, like, you think about, like, the star gets handed a load of gun, but when you think about, like, movies, war movies, and, bank heist movies and stuff like that, just how many guns are actually on set is crazy. I wasn't even sure that everyone was given technically what is an actual weapon. I always thought like probably a lot of them were just synthetic guns, especially if there's not a scene where a gun is going to be fired at all, that you would just need a rubber gun, just something that looks the part. So I was surprised. It's shocking. Really, really, really asked a big question. What is there even a point to having guns on the set? And it doesn't look like there is.
I think there is, for authenticity, number one.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Number two, there's experts on set. Hundreds, if not thousands of movies are made globally each year. Year in, year out. Right? Number one, that weapon obviously was not catered to correctly in terms of I think it's the second unit director or something like that. I'm sure there should be a weapons master or prop master on set there that should have cleared that weapon for usage.
Yes, there's big questions about that woman as well.
Exactly. And number two, Alec Baldwin should not be pointing a gun at anyone at any stage of time. And if he thinks that he didn't press the trigger, that's bullshit, right? He's negligible in what he did. And they're negligible in how they allowed that gun to be handled and how they allowed it to be prepared for the scene that I'm sure was about to occur or something. But like, in the end of the day, I just think there is a place for guns on set, because an actor running around with a rubber gun is not going to pass. Like, you're not going to be able to put the same feel of metal and wood and like the same weight of an actual gun in rubber and have it be authentic.
You think it won't pass the eye test?
Yeah, 100%. And I think not only will it not pass the eye test, I just think the actors won't react to it the same way,
Yeah, true. There is something to be said, again, for some level of authenticity. But I mean, at the same time, maybe it's one of these things where you probably get away with something for so long that you stop realizing that it's dangerous.
Yeah.
And that's probably what happened.
As you said, there's like each movie could have hundreds of guns on.
Hundreds. I go through my head and I'm thinking of like Platoon and The Matrix and Saving Private Ryan or something like that. Just the sheer amount of, because you think about, the stars are given these guns. No, the extras, absolutely everybody are given these guns. Like Braveheart didn't just have Mel Gibson with a sword; it had absolutely everybody in Scotland with one. So
and Ireland,
yeah, sure, it was filmed here, wasn't it?
Yeah, fucking right.
But
Irish Spray.
so yeah, there is something to be said about like this is something that we did have a control on. That this was an anomaly, as opposed to being a standard thing, and it's still like two deaths too many. But at the same time, there's obviously you have to place blame on whoever was holding the gun. It was negligible. It wasn't homicidal.
How about
it was
this?
negligible.
Let's weigh it up, right? If you're going to look at it, you can't look at it in isolation. All right, a film set is something that has more guns on it than probably any other occupation.
And any other SWAT room.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like it is really insane.
So, how many fatalities really come from gun shooting or gun incidents on a film set in comparison to other jobs?
Yeah. How many come from stunts gone wrong versus people actually been shot?
Exactly.
And nobody's thought, and no, I suppose you could say that nobody's caught. Like, although the gun thing for me just seems like it has a more obvious fix as opposed to like not having stunts in films. CGI, I know, but like again, now if there's something that isn't going to pass the eye test, it's stunts. But I remember like there's been a good few. There's somebody died in the set of Troy, I remember, and there's somebody died recently on the set of something. But it is like
I think Batman Begins as well. I think 2 people died during making it. I think.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also I was watching an interview with some woman who had done.
You just hope it's a good movie, though, aren't you?
Yeah, if you're going to,
if you're going to die, like
she lost her arm and the insurance.
It's like, oh fuck, Pearl Harbor.
Yeah, imagine like,
the worst catastrophe that's ever happened in this place ever.
My father died in a stunt gone wrong. Oh, really? In what movie? That's not the point.
Yeah, imagine though, there was like probably survivors of Pearl Harbor watching that movie in Pearl Harbor, and like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened.
This is the worst thing that's ever happened to Pearl Harbor.
Yeah. Fuck's sake. But no, I just think if you look at like schools, more people get shot in schools than they do in film sets.
Yes.
Like, schools that means like film sets are inherently safer places than most everyday places, because schools are supposed to be the safest place you can go.
That's hard to argue. Like, I mean,
you know what I mean?
You could, if you want to just lay the numbers down, then there's no counter argument. I can't even play devil's advocate. If you want to lay it down into numbers, then that's just undeniable.
Yeah, like I'm sure there's more incidents that we don't know about in smaller productions or in less publicized areas of the world, or there's less safety, or there's less like caretaking with the ammunitions or the munitions that are on the set at any given time. And I know we're only hearing the high profile ones. Would we have heard of Halyna Hutchins if it wasn't Alec Baldwin that shot her? Like, that's
perhaps
the thing.
Not.
Like, you know
Perhaps
what I mean?
Not.
And the reason, like, would we've heard about Brandon Lee if he wasn't Brandon Lee? Like, he's Bruce Lee's son, so anything that happens that's attached to
a rising
name,
star, all of that kind of thing.
Exactly.
I think he only had 3 movies to his name at that time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and he's like a legacy actor. Like, you know, he's a superstar from his father's like own fucking lineage. And I just think that obviously this thing occurs more than I'm giving it credit for. I'm going to say, oh, what have you heard about? What have you heard about? Whatever.
Of course.
And I'm sure there's industry experts that would say, well, this happened and this happened and this happened. But I think a lot of the times it comes down to negligibleness. Negligibleness? That's not a real word.
Negligibility?
Neglectfulness.
Neglectfulness is probably an actual human word used by people. Yeah.
But or just neglect. But I just think it comes down to something like you said earlier, is when something becomes so safe because nothing occurs, you forget how dangerous it really is.
Yes.
And the only reason it became safe in the first place is because how expertly you're handling those things. Like on a railway or on a or on a plane or anything. All those things are inherently dangerous. A train track, airplane, it's up to 40,000 feet in the sky or whatever. But the engineers take care of everything in a way that it's no longer dangerous. It seems safe. They always say the safest way to travel is an airplane, which is kind of counterintuitive because you're in a steel box 40,000 feet in the air, but because it's so well engineered that you trust the process.
Yes.
But if anybody in that process goes, oh, look, we haven't had a crash in 5 years, and they start being laissez-faire, lackadaisical, a crash will occur. And I think that's the same thing with movie sets. That it probably.
And that is how most crashes occur. Like
exactly,
they don't check every little
one bolt
every little
or some
nook and
shit,
cranny,
you know?
because it doesn't. It's
one
not
bolt, a group of terrorists, whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I said it.
But then again, even when you said planes, the thing as well, whenever there's a plane crash, it's huge news.
Oh yeah, Bermuda Triangle as well, though. By the way, we can't forget that with planes.
But like anytime anything happens with a plane, we hear about it. Like it is just something that, and that's the other thing. Like,
or if Russia are shooting you down, I said it.
But it's public consciousness. There's probably more people talking about guns on sets now than there is the food crisis in Yemen. It's just like, oh shit, this is what the public are talking about, and we need to put out a
Yeah.
statement, or we need to
It's like
we
a
need to
case
do-
where people are talking too much about Alec Baldwin, not talking enough about Jeffrey Epstein and
Yeah,
the shit
absolutely.
that went on in that fucking hellhole of an
Absolutely.
island. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
though? Like,
absolutely. It is,
what-
and then so there's probably culpability on the media side there, but there's never any
Yeah.
surprise there.
No, but I think it's a case of like, as like touching on what you said, it's like something is so inherently dangerous. I just think though, like maybe Alec Baldwin, who is someone that's been in a lot of action movies, who's been on a lot of movie sets, he's like been there for 30 years, let's say. He's been on movie sets, time in, time out, and he's been around guns probably thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of times. Probably
Like Alec
pointed a gun.
Baldwin's 40 years in the industry.
Exactly.
And
You know what I mean? Like,
he's never dropped below B. He's been an
Yeah.
A-list or a B-list, and he's had comebacks, and he's dropped off the radar for a while. But he's Alec Baldwin. Like
always
he's
working.
always working.
And like, I just think, how many times has he probably pointed a gun at someone and pulled the trigger on set and nothing's happened?
That's it. That's it. It's lackadaisical. You stop worrying about it.
Yeah. And the same thing with those planes. As soon as you forget to check all them bolts, what's going to happen? The fucking wing's going to come off.
The wing's going to come off, exactly. And that
You know
is-
what I mean? Like, and
So-
it's probably a case of he just didn't look down that prop, or that prop wasn't cleared correctly or some shit. I don't know, but I think what you touched on is like, if you're around something so long that you become lackadaisical, you know, and that's what the danger increases because of it, you know.
Well, if you were the king of movies, because I know there's different studios, and there's not even just Hollywood. It's not like
Different studios. It's like Disney and Warner Brothers is all that's left.
yeah,
Sony
no, it's
thing and that in Japan.
all is Disney.
Yeah.
But let's just say that you were the king of movies. Everything, you were the guy whose desk it had to go to. What this comes to you, and you say, a woman called Halyna Hutchins, she's a cinematographer. She's after dying on set. Somebody else has been injured.
Yeah.
A real gun was used, or
Joel Souza was the other person that was injured.
okay, cool. But what do you say?
Well,
This
I'd say
hypothetical where and just say, and of
say-
course you have to take into account, because it's a money making business, that the public are on this.
Well, I'd say number one, guns are needed for authenticity. Number two, experts are hired to avoid this situation. Number three, you have to look into the personnel that were involved. Alec Baldwin, you have to look at your assistant unit director or second unit director, I'm not too sure. You have to look at your props manager.
Arms master or something like that she was
something
called,
like
yeah.
this. Exactly. You need to look at her, and you need to look at how the weapons were prepared for the rest of the movie. You need to look at the weapon itself to see if it was live at the time. You need to find out with all the eyewitnesses' accounts that you can figure out, and find out whether or not this was equipment failure, if this was a person's error or human error, if this was just neglect, if this was a case of Alec Baldwin acting the fuck. Like, these things have to be taken into account. You can't just be like the problem is with The Rock, it's too all sweeping, and that's The Rock is.
I was about
like,
to use the word sweeping. I was.
yeah. The problem with him is that at the moment he is so mainstream that he has to do everything to keep a hold of his clean cut image. He's so mainstream now.
And he's so wholesome. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
He does play this kind of wholesome dad.
He plays The Rock and everything.
He
His
plays The
movies
Rock,
have
yeah.
become so monotone. It's not
I've seen 4. Somebody said,
See the meme?
put something like,
Yeah.
and it's easy. Somebody said these are 4 different movies, and he's
Yeah.
wearing some sort of tan colored shirt.
yeah.
And he's in, I don't know, like some sandy or jungly kind of
It's
area.
like 2 of them were Jumanji, I think. One of them was Jungle Cruise, and I don't know what the other one was.
Were the 2 different Jumanjis then? Was it Jumanji 1 and 2 or something?
I think so.
like
I think one was Jumanji and the other one was Jumanji Next Level or some shit like that. But
Okay.
like, I think it's a case of The Rock overreacting here because he's so mainstream that he feels, because his voice is so important in a sense that he's got so much of a large following online, his movies are so successful in terms of box office, his appeal is so massive in terms of his broadness of appeal, that he thinks that he has to speak out in certain things. I don't think he has a production company, and he's every right to produce his movies in the way he does.
And he's in 4 movies, big movies a year or something.
Yeah.
Like he is
And
the
then
action
one
star
good movie
of this
every 4
particular.
years, and
Yeah.
but like, I just think that it's a case of like, you don't get a Rambo with a rubber gun, you don't get a Predator with a rubber gun, you don't. And the thing is, we're going too far away from the top echelon of action movies, and we're getting this fucking schlock. I love Fast and Furious, but it's schlock. Like, I like Jungle Cruise, but it's schlock. It's like a watered down version of The Mummy without any of Brendan Fraser's charisma. You know what I mean? Like, it's like there's no chemistry between Emily Blunt and The Rock when they were trying with the same with Brendan Fraser, and Rachel Weisz was flawless. You know what I mean?
But you see, I always find sometimes, like you said, the eye test. Sometimes you can see when chemistry is forced, and that's not chemistry. It's an oxymoron because it's not.
He looks like his food. I'm gonna
Rachel Weisz with. But I think anyone with Brendan Fraser was just such a character to bounce off. Like, I'm so glad he's having what are they calling it these days? A second act.
Yeah, Indian Summer, like the McConaissance was the best one. Do you remember McConaughey came back?
Yeah, the McConaissance. I love that. I love that. Even just for that word, I'm glad he had to come back. You know,
but you can't even top that though. Like, but I don't know. I just think it's too sweeping. I just think there's so much authenticity to be gained by having real live weapons. You just need to put actual experts on set, and you need to
Somebody, sorry to talk over you. Somebody on the set, I'm trying, and it's only coming back to me now, so I don't have the name. But was saying like they'd be walking,
back to me.
but they were walking, and they would be walking down, and all of a sudden, like there would be a couple of gunshots, you know, and he was going, Jesus Christ, like, do we not do these tests at a certain time so that we know? Like, should this not be regimented, just like everything else is regimented? When we get to break for food is regimented. How many scenes we're going to get in the day? How we use the sun is going to be regimented. So can this not be fucking regimented? I'm paraphrasing massively, but he was saying that there was just this like shots going off all of the fucking time, and you're thinking, dude, these are weapons. Yeah, somebody who came forward and I don't know, maybe a tertiary character or something. I may look into it now. But they were just saying, but like you said, even if they just brought in one extra stress test where they were like, okay, this is the weapon that's going to be handed to here it is. Here's like two arms masters. So you handed like two people to do quality control instead of one, and you kind of go, right, these guns are all good to go.
There is two though.
Is there two? Is there always two? That's the thing. I admit to not knowing exactly what the protocol is.
Pretty sure it's supposed to be the assistant unit, either the second unit director or the assistant unit director or some shit, and the props master or guns master or weapons master, whatever title they slap on them. I'm pretty sure they're the two that are supposed to clear the weapons before each scene.
So how culpable do you think you are then if you're an actor of 40-something years and you are for the umpteenth billionth time handed a weapon and you fire it and somebody dies? Because I don't know if Alec Baldwin did something that Keanu Reeves hasn't done.
Well, he is culpable because he pointed the gun at people and he shot it.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. That's
as simple as that. Like,
yeah, but they're obviously like how big is
the gun? Someone didn't cast the spell on the gun, and he's oh, Maura Morales, Alec Baldwin shooter. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
this gun was not checked for black magic.
Hashtag Black Magic Lives Matter.
But I do think, like, how much grey area is there between somebody taking a gun out from their desk and shooting somebody in order to kill them, and being handed a weapon that you were under the impression was, I think they just called it a cold gun. I think it's simply called.
I'll put it to you, in the case of the exact reason there's experts on set shows that it's a dangerous thing. Like, if there was no experts on set, if there was no prop manager, there was no reason to clear this weapon, and it was inherently an undangerous item because there was experts there that weren't there to prevent it from being dangerous and being mishandled in the wrong way, then I think you're completely culpable, because you know this fucking gun, whether it's cleared or whether it's cold, whether it's hot, whatever the fuck you want to call it, it inherently is dangerous, because that's why there's experts there to make it safe. So there's no reason you should be fucking around with it. It's like, alright, I go to my kid, I'm the reason you don't stab yourself with that knife, because my expertise is, I stab myself before with a knife, it's not good, don't do it, that knife is inherently dangerous.
I'm anti-stabbing self.
Exactly, you know what I mean? So my kid is like, looks at the knife, looks pretty safe at distance, but I've been warned by a person that has more expertise with that knife to say that knife is dangerous, don't fuck around with it. And the same way Alec Baldwin, I'm sure, who's been on hundreds of sets, who's been in thousands of hours of movies probably this stage.
Yeah, and he's produced, he's lended his voice to stuff, he's narrated, he's been inside every kind of imaginable facet of
inside
films.
Is such a dirty word.
Inside. But I was just thinking, like, if we go to The Crow, I think it was Fun Boy or something was the character that he was one of the first people that Brandon Lee's Crow goes after, and he's the man who pulled the trigger, and it was a shell casing, I think, that hit him, but it's still flying at that kind of speed. It's a piece of metal, hot metal flying at that kind of speed. It's devastating, and it was ultimately fatal. But to the best of my knowledge, he never served any time, and he's passed now himself, unfortunately.
That's different, though.
I understand. But yeah, there, go ahead, take that.
It's
take
different,
that.
right? I'm not sure if it was Funboy, but just for example, Funboy, because
I'm understanding it was, and I stand to correction.
Looks identical to Bon Jovi. Now that I think of it,
Yeah.
I was like,
if he gave Love a meth name,
yeah, I fucking love that movie so much. I can picture that scene, but I think it's completely different because Funboy, or the actor that played Funboy, shot him during the making.
It was Funboy. Was I right about that much? That there was a character called Funboy.
There was a guy called Funboy. I think that's the guy. He's the little girl that with the skateboard. He's banging her mother. Or, sorry, making intercourse towards her.
Yeah. Making intercourse.
Yeah, but he shot Brandon Lee accidentally during the scene. So he had every right to be holding the gun and pointing at Brandon Lee because that's what the scene called for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good point. That this was like, okay, the scene 4, take 5, click, and this was where I'm actually told by a director, by whoever, it passed the smell test and I was supposed to pull the trigger.
Exactly.
That's fair.
You know what I mean?
That's fair, because it wasn't, that's fair, because it wasn't an actual live scene, wasn't it? Nobody had said action, nobody had clipped the board.
Exactly. How many times has Brandon Lee shot already in that movie?
Man, remember the scene where he's standing on the end of the table?
That's where he got the kill,
and everyone... I always thought it was until I came across something that said that it was fun. Now, I don't know whether it was Funboy in that scene, but I think he's dead by that stage of the film.
Yeah.
So, I don't know whether it was him in that scene or that where Brandon Lee's at the bottom of the bed and he shoots him. Now, again...
Yeah, what I heard was he got shot off the end of the table and never got back up.
Yeah, that's what I understood for years.
Yeah.
And years.
There's so many urban legends around that. That's a movie we definitely need to look into deeply. Like, cause
he passed. Yeah. And he passed from...
Rest in peace.
I think another thing, I think that could have been an actual error.
What's her name? Is it Halyna News?
Halyna Hutchins, something like that.
Rest in peace, Halyna Hutchins, and rest in peace, Brandon Lee.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
We never said it.
Say their names.
I want to say your name.
I think with Brandon Lee as well, I think there was an actual fault with the gun.
Yeah.
Like, I think the gun was set up to whatever the standards were in 1994, and there was primer in it, but there was a dummy round, and I think something that should have been released the way as far as semi-automatic would release but the bullet casing. I think it fired that bullet casing, so I do think there was a technical error. So I don't think anybody ever did time for it or anything.
As far as I
think
know,
it passed the smell test of 1994.
Yeah, I think as far as I know, a prop gun is supposed to when it shoots blanks, that it pretty much it goes off in the barrel in a sense where it just creates that flash, and there's no projectile. No projectile whatsoever. That's where the deaths occur, because we have Brandon Lee something projectiled out of it, and the guy's obviously aiming the gun in fucking centre mass because that's what the scene calls for. There's squibs on Brandon Lee. I think that's how they create the gun effect shot. So there's no impact to the actor. So there's
none whatsoever.
Yeah, so there's squibs, and they're.
I think my understanding is that the squib can even give you like a little bit of like a poke, so you can kind of it hurts a tiny bit, but it's just enough for you to kind of like. Obviously, if you get shot on the shoulder and you go back left shoulder first, and you got shot on the right shoulder, obviously the squib gives you a little bit of authenticity as well. But zero projectiles. Yeah, and at all. Yeah, so when it comes to a scene and someone dies. And no matter how horrible that is, and especially when you lose someone of the caliber of Brandon Lee and the legacy that he has attached to his name, it's not Funboy's fault. It's if anyone's fault, it's the prop manager or the weapons master, because that gun was obviously not set up correctly. It was either, as we said earlier, it was either human error or equipment failure. So I think it was equipment failure. Well, then it's no one's fault. I'm sure maybe things change. Yeah. But you have to understand, I suppose like the thing is like, how often was that gun fired though? Yeah. And how old was that gun? Again, how often does this matter? I can't think. And don't get me wrong, if you did a deep dive, I'm sure there's Bollywood, and there's that's I'm thinking. Obviously Canada, and of course there's more examples, but the ones that we know about in the Western world, the North Korean movie industry must be insane for deaths. I think those are documentarians. They actually kidnapped two. Total side note: I watched a documentary about the Kim dynasty recently. They kidnapped two South Korean filmmakers and held them for 7 years to try and improve their film industry back in the day. Oh wow! Amazing commitment. That's what it's amazing that North Korea exists. It is. When you think about it, it's just incredible that in this day and age it exists. It's something that looks straight from the history books. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, something a land the time forgot. It's just incredible. It's like when you look at the old Nazi shit and you're like, how did that ever happen? And it's literally occurring right now in North Korea. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's fucking insane. But I just think that guns have a place in movies. They have a very important place in movies because
I don't know if you're going to get Daniel Day-Lewis to come in there. And I know he doesn't do a lot of gun shooting movies, but you're not going to. Maybe you're going to get like a Leonardo DiCaprio or someone, are you? Say, hold this rubber gun, Leo. And Leo DiCaprio's like, dude, I just fucking learned this dialect of Native American. I learned this dialect of Sioux, just say, right? And he's like, I just learned this dialect. I just dragged myself in a fucking bearskin downstream. This bearskin weighs about 300 pounds. I just had a fucking dude in a leotard jump up and down on my back and throw me on a fucking hill, right?
I've been with a personal trainer for 8 hours a day,
and you want me to carry a rubber fucking gun? No, dude.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
This thing, like, I mean, it's the absolute necessariness of it, I suppose. And also there's going to be just like the public do, and it's a double-edged sword. The public do have so much say now.
Yeah.
Massive. Because the last thing a company wants, look at Kellogg's right now.
Yeah.
It's not a good time for them.
Wait, what's going on with Kellogg's? Because that big cock they put in all their boxes.
I stopped buying Kellogg's because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
But still, like, fight the power.
Well, people have morals. I just have, I have a terrible budget. I'm eating something that's called beta wonks.
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make, is that if you don't do it, if you don't go the Rock's way, are people going to go, do you realise that 21st Century Fox are still using real guns even after the Rush shooting? And people go, well, boycott 21st. So now is the die already, I forget the expression, so I'm not going to even try. Die is already cast, thank you.
No.
So is this all kind of just bullshit conversation because it doesn't matter, because now the public have said this is what we want and that's how you're going to make money on films? No, because it's a money making business
right now,
or it's an altruistic one.
Right now, it's not going to affect blockbusters too much, because most blockbusters are made by Disney and don't really have a lot of guns in them. It's a lot of superhero stuff, a lot of fantastical things. I don't think it'll affect that too much. It won't affect The Rock's movies too much anyway, because he makes nothing but shit. So the quality of his movies are going to remain pretty shitty, because he's so enamored with himself right now that he's forgotten how to be a character. He's just The Rock. Like, if you
he is just The Rock.
Look at some of his earlier movies. Be Cool. That movie he made with Mark Wahlberg. What's it called?
Sean William Scott. He was in one with him.
Yeah, he was in that one. Southland Tales. He was in the other one, what was it, like No Pain, or something like that, or No Gain. Do you remember that one where they kidnap a guy? Like, he actually made movies back in the day, but he's just so overtly enamored with his mainstream appeal. He's going to do and say anything that the masses say that he should do, or he feels that the masses think he should do. And I think The Rock, hopefully, will be an outlier. And his movies aren't really like fucking good anyway. Like, I'll go and see them. They're entertaining, but they're not actual good movies. There's a completely different thing. You can entertain.
They're not cinema.
Yeah, no, it's not even that. Like, they're not even top quality blockbusters. You know what I mean? Like, you look at a skyscraper.
I'm just going to say it. When I'm watching a Rock film, I actually feel silly wearing my monocle.
I take my white gloves off. It's all I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. These really long satin gloves that I'm trying.
Yeah, I just think it's a case of, like, there's a lot of movie makers out there that are just going to pretty much say, we just need to be careful. We just need to do our jobs better.
Yeah.
And not pretty much do this whole cop-out thing like The Rock's doing. And I think what he's doing is a massive cop-out, and it's a massive case of, I don't want to be held culpable for things that could occur. So I'm going to have Roberts. And it's kind of like the thing, like, I'm just going to, like, just in case. It's just a big just in case.
Yeah.
And I don't want this to tarnish my reputation just in case this happens. And he's just being overtly all sweeping, rubber guns. Like, maybe they look authentic, I don't know. Maybe they've been used in the past, I don't know.
I don't even know why they can't just use steel guns that just don't have fire. I don't understand why you need to be rubber guns now.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
because you did. I kind of said I don't. Like, technically you could do it, and you can get away with it, like you said. But you did say when you said Rambo, and for some, that big long fuck off Gatling gun thing that he has. A bullet fed, belt fed gun, whatever you call it. I don't know much. But like that being made of rubber would just be like, not for Rambo.
Yeah.
It does, like you said, it doesn't work for a Rambo. I have to say that resonated.
Yeah, or even a Scarface.
Else.
Look at Scarface. Yeah. Literally, Al Pacino, when he was doing that scene, the top, because he made the Godfather movies, that he had this expertise in handling weapons on set. So they didn't tell him that the gun was going to heat up when he did that. Say hello to my little friend. You know that scene where he's like, and they never told him that. They never told him the barrel was going to heat up, because they figured this guy was in fucking 3 Godfather movies or 2 Godfather movies at this stage. Like, we don't need to tell him anything. He
He
scorched.
didn't use a gun like that.
Yeah,
either.
exactly. Yeah,
In
exactly. That's what
fairness.
he said. Like, and he like scorched his hand off the barrel, and he get this.
Did he?
Yeah, and pretty much you get that where he's like, oh, like where he kind of reacts. And I think they kept it in the movie, or like, you know, he literally took, and that's why you can see him when he's shooting the gun. That one hand is kind of off to one side because he literally just burnt the fuck out of it. Like, I just think that even though Al Pacino got hurt, that authenticity that adds. When he's like,
Yeah.
say hello to my little friend, that's a rubber gun.
And he holds it centre mass. It's
Yeah.
like he holds the gun down near his groin.
coked off his
And
tits.
it's basically straight out. He's coked off his tits.
They're like a mountain of cocaine. Like, if you're going to go
Yeah,
out,
right.
I don't want to, like, I'm not going to say, right, that I think drugs are good or violence is good. But if someone says to me, list your top 5 ways to go out, my pick is the climax of Scarface in the top 5. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Bury my
Oh,
face
yeah.
in a mountain of cocaine, have a Colombian sneak up me after I murder 50 guys.
Yeah, rocket propel grenade
Yeah.
the door, take out like 8 or 9 of them. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
or Leon, apart from, you know, him being a clear paedophile, apart from that,
that,
the
like-
climax is incredible.
If you overlook the very, very small factor,
Just a smidge of paedophilia.
pederast with a small P, you know?
El Pifidia instead of El Professional. But so we're at 31 minutes now, motherfucker. But like, do you want to have any final thoughts on this final thought and we get the fuck out of here?
I think you've kind of like swayed me over to your side with when, like, again, I guess it's not strictly necessary, but if it didn't pass the eye test, that's a horrible thought.
Yeah.
I do think that there is a way to have this and have it be safe, and that's what we have hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah.
if not millions of hours of footage that we can go and see of people firing guns and absolutely nobody in actuality being hurt. Millions of hours.
Yeah.
And billions of rounds
Yes.
of rounds in inverted
Exactly. Yeah,
commas.
exactly.
So you're kind of trying to say, like, one is too many. Obviously something needs to change, but obviously it's a guy like that girl, the one who was
Halyna
the armor,
Hutchins.
she obviously wasn't the cinematographer, but the one who was the arm, whatever,
The props master.
the props master. Obviously you need to be very careful with who you're hiring. Somebody who takes it very, very, very seriously. Something that when you were handed a cold gun that you never fire, like, you're walked off the set if you don't use it inside of the context that you're supposed to be using it, when all of the smell tests have been passed. Like, so obviously we have to make sure this never happens again, but maybe there's a line that you can do that without having to go back to synthetic all of the way for every film going forward in perpetuity.
I think it's a kid.
So maybe there's a line. This can't happen again, but there's more than one way to do that.
Yeah, I think it's the clearest case of, number one, it's definitely going to happen again. Okay, right?
In perpetuity,
Yeah, yeah.
like in human existence, unfortunately.
In the same way as a bus driver could be fucking shot working his job. It's the probabilities for anybody.
A stuntman's going to die in a flipped car
Yeah,
in the next year.
100%. Like,
100%.
like, you know what I mean? So there is dangers inherent with every situation, including working on a film set. But in my case, in my opinion, I think it's the clearest case of do more, not less. The Rock he's doing less. I think you need to ingrain a safety nature into the film industry. You need to ingrain everybody. You need to teach everybody on set how to handle a weapon. Everybody.
Yeah.
Not just
Everybody.
not just the actors. Everybody needs to have some sort of tactical practice. And I think all film studios and all film industry or all film production companies could look at this and go, here's a way of educating ourselves better. We can do this. We have the money. We have the manpower. We have the weapons masters. We have the prop masters. We have the firearms at hand. We can teach people hand safety or gun safety. And I think it's a case of just do more. Hire more people,
Be
like
better,
you said.
as the people say, just be better.
Yeah, exactly. Just do your job better. The money's there. The experts are there. I think what The Rock is doing is silly. And I just think it's a case of him just like trying to avoid culpability, trying to hold on to his image. When it's a case of,
Probably trying to help his image, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, he's at the forefront of the conversation, and it's a big conversation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm not going to accuse him of clout chasing, because I actually do like The Rock.
yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no,
Maybe-
not even clout chasing. I just think it's like he's just image nurturing, you know. I think
Yeah.
that kind of
Yeah.
thing, you know. So I just think it's a case of when you have the budget, and you have the experts, and you have the expertise, and you have filmmakers who know how to make world class films. I think all the ingredients are there to just make it safer and do it better, and continue going the way you're going, but in a better way, in a more educated way, and have people that work these movies, that anyone that is going to be in contact with it going at any time, have the cinematographers, have the directors, have the producers, all have firearms training, and across the board education on how to handle guns, how to make sure a gun is clear, And also, like, stop the tomfuckery and no more pointing guns at people at sets. No more fire.
This didn't have to happen,
Yeah.
so don't let it happen. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a serious case of just do, as you said, just be better. And that's the case. Of like, guns should be in films. Guns should be on sets. Just stop fucking around with them and teach people.
They're not toys.
Yeah.
They're not toys.
Yeah.
And there's no, you don't have to make them toys, but you have to recognize that they're not. And maybe that's the bullet point.
Yeah, exactly. In that case, so they have a place, but they just need to be handled with care. Like,
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like most dangerous things. You know what I mean?
like most dangerous things. All right, Finn, we'll get out of here. I think we've covered that as much as we're going to.
Cool.
I think we fixed it. I think we fixed Hollywood.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
No
for
biggie.
half hour.
No biggie. That's what we do. It's
What we do when we do.
All right, cool. So, motherfuckers, this was Talking Points, and that was about guns on set. Do they have a place or not? Let us know what you think. So, I'm your host, Vincent Green.
I'm your host, Noel John Toohey.
We got Karen Mack in the back, and that was Talking
always.
Points. And see you next time, motherfuckers.
Talking time.